Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. When Alistair Jack overrode the Gender Reform Bill with the use of Section 35, a lot of people in the SNP felt very much aggrieved. They said it was the British government down in Westminster removing rights and powers from the Scottish Parliament. It turns out, of course, that the Supreme Court said no, it wasn't, because Scotland didn't have those powers in the first place. So it actually wasn't removing anything because there was nothing to remove. But a lot of political ground was made on it. They were up in arms here, fighting there, moaning there, talking about interference elsewhere. But the fact of it is that I think the SNP were secretly relieved at having had that happen to them, because they knew what a toxic kind of subject this was, and they were relieved secretly in getting rid of it. This, of course, has now been compounded by Rishi Sunak saying that any future Tory government, not likely to happen, of course, but any future Tory government would remove those powers entirely and would rewrite the Equality Act to make sure that where they talked about sex, they meant biological sex. It was a way of preserving the rights, freedoms, and protection for women and girls in Scotland. These are contentious issues, and for the SNP, they're fairly toxic, and gives them two little advantages. One, of course, it takes away their ability to get the answer wrong. If they don't have to answer it, then they can't be seen as taking sides on it. So it's a bit of a relief that it's gone that way, because if whatever side they fall down, they're going to lose the other side. And secondly, it gives them opening up another grievance with Westminster, even though it isn't really a grievance, as I said, about the Supreme Court. But this whole trans debate has been massively damaging to the SNP. They know it, and they don't want it to continue. They're trying to sideline it and make it a thing that hasn't happened at all, let alone a thing that has never been solved or sorted. Trying to, erase it from history, shall we say. It's been pushed by a lot of people. It was hated by a lot of people. You've got the Greens particularly were all for it. Sturgeon was all for it. Then you had some more rational heads like Kate Forbes and Joanna Cherry, who were very much against it and were very vocally against it. And then, of course, and amazingly, I do praise her for it, Ash Regan actually resigned out of government over the matter. So, I mean, fair dues to her. But then along comes and hoves into view the Cass report, which goes to show that all those who were in favour of it were in fact wrong, and that they were doing so much damage. And yet still they couldn't let go, because otherwise it makes it look as though they got it wrong in the first place. And their sheer arrogance wouldn't let that happen. But there we are. That's the state of affairs. It's been removed from them. And while they'll pretend to moan about it, they're actually very, very relieved. Thank you very much. Take care and goodbye.